Hello, fellow lightworkers. I'm Kimberly Katherine, and I'm so glad you're here. Today's episode is really personal. And as I'm approaching my 1 year anniversary, this one actually is probably the deepest I'm recording. And it's really about those last 3 years that I've been in of the final of the healing, my healing process. And it starts with getting my dog. He had to have his teeth cleaned. He's about 11 and a half years old, and it was recommended to the vet not quite a year ago, and it's a pretty expensive procedure. So she said, if you wait, they have specials. And I waited. And then I kind of missed the window, but I went to a really good place. And before they go ahead and do the teeth cleaning, they do blood work and check the urine sample and all that to make sure that your dog can handle the surgery. So some of his numbers came out a little bit high, and there was protein in his urine, and but he still was okay to have the surgery. He got his teeth cleaned and 2 teeth extracted. Oh my gosh. Um, and then I did a follow-up with my regular vet, and she said, he's got a lot of stuff going on, and there's the fact that there's protein in the urine. He's got this, it doesn't even matter what the name is, but he's got some stuff that we need to attend to, and there's no cure. It's not critical, like anything's going to happen immediately, but this is why he's got these different things going on. So I was really sad because my dog he's been through me in some of the most challenging and transformative years of my life. So it was suggested to me to write him a letter of just to kind of, because I was feeling the grief, and I was feeling really, really sad. So I started reflecting on the journey together with him. And when we decided to get him, and the dogs are difficult to get, so we had about 3 different interviews. And in the letter to him, I started writing about the day that we went to go pick him up. And it was interesting. Oh my goodness. While I was writing the letter, a memory of that driving trip totally emerged. And it was the day that we were going to go pick him up. We were excited and looking forward to bringing him home. And we're talking in the car. And then my ex-husband, he's asking me, do I have my checkbook? And I was always the one who did everything. I was the eyes and ears for everybody. And I think I forgot his or something. I don't even remember the details. It doesn't even matter. But he started yelling at me, and he was angry. And at the time, although it didn't feel good, because it had happened for so long, it felt normal. And at first I was like, oh no, I didn't, maybe you did. But then I would get squashed down so quickly. So I would be focused on fixing the problem and keeping the peace. So what happened in my body as I continued writing, this was so interesting. I started to feel the sensations in my body just retelling that story, the tightness, the emotion, my energy moving, my memory. It was interesting. It just felt alive. But there was something different this time. There was something completely different. Instead of being pulled into memory like I was in it, I was the participant, I was observing it. I was like above, like a helicopter, or watching it from a TV. It was like I was watching like a movie. I could see the entire drama and everything and the dynamic clearly. And I felt the compassion for my old self. And it almost brings tears to my eyes to bring this up, because I felt so much compassion for her, because I wasn't defending her situation. I wasn't minimizing it. I wasn't blaming myself. It was just like, oh my gosh, that poor younger self, the amount that she dealt with and just contained and kept quiet and tried to keep the peace. So I realized I don't live there anymore. I couldn't even finish writing the letter to my dog because it was so disturbing. I didn't even get to the part of the grief and how I know how it's so difficult because when we lost our other two dogs, it was just so terrible, so sad. Um, so you know, I didn't even realized I didn't even realize that this was CPTSD. CPTSD. Wow. It's walking on eggshells, hypervigilance, monitoring someone else's moods, feeling responsible for everyone else's emotional state. People pleasing, oh yeah. Fear of making mistakes, overcompensating. I always did that. Difficulty relaxing, difficulty feeling safe. I was living in survival mode while appearing functional. My constant nervous system was activated, and I completely lost touch with my own needs and my feelings. It was, and I didn't even really understand what that whole thing meant until about 6 months ago when my current somatic coach brought that up. She said, "Oh, yeah, well, that's what it's like when you're CPTSD." And I'm like, "What? What's that?" It's complex PTSD. It's when he didn't go through a fire or a war or a terrible accident or losing a child or a this or a that, or some you can name it. It's slow, it's quiet, it's complex because there's no one big event. And it's so true. And I didn't even understand what it was. So then I did a deep dive into researching it and I was like, oh my God. And then I was in denial. And then I accepted it. But what I really realized with my dog situation and writing that letter and having that, I didn't even need to have a deep somatic session to, or a traumatic, a trance to access that memory. I was accessing that memory high above as an observer and realizing, wow, all this deep work has really, really, really helped. And I sent that younger self so much love. My healing journey, like I said in my last week's episode, the first thing was choosing me. And I started running and I put some old tennis shoes on. And then the next step was EFT tapping, which I'm so grateful will always be to Carly. Of course, I had talk therapy, but that only started about a month before I started running again. And meditation, I started out light and then got to deeper. And Reiki's been a part of my life for 26 years, but I even lost touch with that. Acupuncture, same, 26 years. Somatic work. I've done some breath work. Nature's been amazing. Most recently, I just listen to the birds. I'm not even listening to music that much anymore, although I love music. And then, of course, swimming and learning boundaries. Oh my gosh, learning boundaries. I'll never be in that situation ever again. And learning to trust and listen to your own body when you start to feel those tightness, like saying, "Ooh, what is that?" Tapping into that. As we know, the body keeps the score. And this is where I've talked about the last 3 years have been my biggest healing, my biggest healing. Well, now that I'm approaching my 1 year anniversary, this is just touching lightly on the surface. And the touching lightly on the surface is the next episode. I'll go into even deeper. But, it all started with basically going back and healing that complex PTSD. Healing it doesn't arrive on one big giant breakthrough. Wouldn't that be nice if it did? You know how you've listened to me and I've talked so many times about, am I there yet? I'm a runner. Am I at the finish line? It doesn't work that way. And, when you revisit a moment and you realize I'm no longer that same person and the memory didn't change you. I changed. Oh, that was one of the biggest insights for me this past week. And I guess what I want to leave people with today is if you're noticing yourself when you're in hypervigilance constantly and you just can't get out of it, maybe just close your eyes and start to just, hold your heart and give compassion and know that you can get out of that. And it's just one step at a time. And maybe it's starting with that talk therapy and that therapist. And I guess more than that, if you're an observer, if you see somebody who's going through that and they're a family member or a very close friend, a hug to that person could mean so much, and just simply listening to them. When they're in it, they don't know they're in it, and it takes a lot to undo it. I was with my coach yesterday, and we joked and said, if somebody would have told me it's going to take at least 3 years to heal from a 21-year situation of complex PTSD, I probably never would have left. I would have been too scared. Maybe I would have, but I don't know. I don't know. And I'm so glad I was brave and I took that first step. And I just said enough is enough, and I trusted my instinct. And this was a hard one to record today because I've been in denial and embarrassed, quite honestly, ashamed. And there's no reason to be any of that. The best thing is to be proud and be brave and be there and be the voice for others who are just starting this journey. And that's why I'm here for you. And I want to thank all of my listeners, new and old, not old, but new and repeats. And I am extending my special offer of if you're going through this or you are ready and you're like, I am ready. I am ready to heal. I am ready to take the next step. I'm here for you. And for 3 more additional people who are watching today or listening today, you can go to my website, which is thekimberlykatherine.com, book a session. And if you book by June 15th, I will be giving complimentary sessions for 60 minutes, and just go ahead and book a 60-minute session, either Reiki or coaching, and put in the code I'm ready, IMREADY, and I'll give 3 more additional listeners a complimentary session. I'm here with you. I'm sending you light and love. I'm so proud of you for going through this journey, your own personal journey, or thank you for listening to mine. Make it a beautiful day. And if you are going through it, love yourself, be gentle, and keep going.